Part 2 of Robot after this. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. Today talking about part 2 of the 4-part adventure of Robot and Tom Baker's Doctor Who. Now, you might wonder why I'm doing this at once. It's not just to make more videos, but I think that it probably gives a better perspective if we talk about the episodes in the way that they were originally seen. Instead of binge watching, a term that probably wasn't even coined at the time these shows were made, they intended for them to be little stories that would stand up on their own pretty much, but also follow a serial format and have a cliffhanger at the end. And each of these does, of course, except for the last one where they resolve the situation. This is something that is, kind of interesting in the Doctor Who adventures. We know that unless there's a regeneration time coming, and we usually know when that is, there's not going to be any real danger to the Doctor. Even when Peter Capaldi, his doctor, lost his sight, this was something that we knew would eventually resolve itself, which it did. So in Robot Part 2, we are here looking to see just what we can see as to how a viewer at the time might have reacted and our reaction to it now. First of all, we open it up with the Doctor laying down on a desk with a hat over his face, apparently napping. This is something that you've seen in Westerns sometimes where the cowboy will put the hat over his face, no doubt to keep dust out of his face or whatever. But however, he would even talk through his hat sometimes. This was another part of the way that Tom Baker liked to act. He wanted to give the impression, he did it very well, of being an alien. You would believe that he was an alien because he didn't really do anything in a normal manner. Not walk through a door, not lay on a desk, not speak or react or anything the way you would expect a normal person to do. And he used this to great effect. Now, the big trick, of course, is to go between this very quirky individual to someone who is also a big authority. And he was able to pull that off in this episode as well. We find that the robot, which we now have a good look at in this episode, is not badly put together considering the effects that they had at the time. BBC was always pretty good at set building and in costume design, and while nobody would believe that was a real robot, really, it certainly did fill the bill of what it was supposed to do. And we find that it obeyed the 3 directives that Isaac Asimov placed on robots. First, that a robot would not kill a human being, that a robot would be doing something for the betterment of mankind, and so on. And while they, of course, upon stating all of this, reverse all of that, where the robot does in fact kill, it shows what the problem is. And it reminds me a little bit of the robot in Forbidden Planet, when they were demonstrating that this robot could not hurt anybody by giving the robot an order, and you could see his brain short circuit when he was trying to resolve being given an order, which he was required to follow, against the prime directive of a robot not to hurt someone. So this was done in, whatever TV effects you could do at the time, and they did much of the effects in this on video. They shot inside and out on video, whereas previously outside shots would be done on film, inside shots would be done on video, and the ability to superimpose things was more complicated. This by using chroma key, which is common now. We could do it here if we wanted to. It was a fairly new operation at that time, and considering how crude the system was at the time, they were able to do it reasonably well, I think. Anyway, we have a good line in here where Sarah is concerned about the robot's feelings. And of course, they say the robot doesn't have feelings, and they enforce that with saying, I suppose you're the type of girl that gives motor cars names. And I believe her character did, as a matter of fact. So they showed the robot being worked on, and they were able to reprogram it with a screwdriver and a can of WD-40. I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know if WD-40 existed at that time, but it was something in a spray can that they sprayed the inside of the robot's head and turned it with a screwdriver and were able to disengage the prime directive. We have, in addition to that, Dr. Ketterwell, who has said that if the robot is given contradictory instructions, he will go insane. Now, this is kind of a warning here that there's going to be something going wrong. This robot is going to lose his mind and really going to wreak some havoc. At least that's what they would lead you to believe in this episode. We see the first instance of Tom Baker's doctor in thought, where he is staring off into space almost in a trance-like way. And he was singularly better at this than any other doctor I think that I've ever seen, where he could just look frozen. And in fact, showed that when the Brigadier said something, after the Brigadier leaves the room, he says, "Oh, did you say something I was thinking?" They showed the special Doctor Who car that Jon Pertwee drove and was still driven by this doctor in this adventure. I don't know if they use it after this, but it was one of the things that it looked as if that they had written this particular episode still with Jon Pertwee in mind. It would appear Terrance Dicks, who had written previous episodes for Jon Pertwee, obviously did it kind of that way. But this was his last episode. He went on to freelance after this, and so subsequent stories after Robot will find a slightly different way of using the Doctor. So that's what we have to say about part 2. Of course, the cliffhanger is where the Doctor is about to be killed by the robot. We know that's not going to happen, but it's a good place to stop as we get ready for the next adventure. So next time we talk about Tom Baker, we'll talk about part 3 of Robot. Meantime, I hope that you would subscribe and ring the bell so you know when the next video is coming your way. We're doing quite a lot recently. We're doing Star Wars, The Bad Batch. We're doing Doctor Who news. We're doing retro reviews of the Tom Baker years of Doctor Who. We're doing retro reviews of Star Trek. Coming up by the middle of next month, we're going to be going back into the new Star Trek series and whatever else happens to come up. So we hope that you'll be around to see what we have to talk about and join in that conversation with us by going to the comments below. And until then, until next time, don't go far.